Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here. And in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings in Yahoo for Monday, February the 22nd. Gonna run through Monday's 6-game slate, break it all down team by team. We'll touch on each team, go through each game on the slate, give you guys my early thoughts, what does stand out to me looking at the slate on Sunday night, what stands out from each team. But before we do get started with the breakdown, guys, as always, I would appreciate it if you'd hit that like button down below. Be sure to hit that subscribe button as well if you are new here. Click the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You also get notified every time I do go live. Now, I was planning on streaming yesterday, wasn't able to, but I will definitely be live for tonight's slate. We do have a later lock tonight. Lock's at 8 o'clock Eastern time, so I will probably be live a little bit later than normal. I'll probably go live around 5 Eastern, sometime around there. So if you're free, if you're able to tune into the stream, I will be live then, breaking down everything, answering all your guys' questions. If there's any news that comes out throughout the day, we can always touch on that in the live stream. So be sure to tune into the live stream Monday afternoon around 5. Hope you guys, are able to tune in as always. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let's go ahead and get started with the breakdown. So starting off with the Bulls and Rockets game, we'll hit on the Bulls side first. So on the Bulls today, in terms of injuries, just the same guys remain out that, have been out for like the last couple of weeks. Looking at Zach LaVine, though, at the top, on this slate, I don't know if Zach LaVine is going to be someone I get to as a top play. There are some other studs that I would rather get to. We have LeBron in a really good matchup against the Wizards. Even Westbrook and Beal, you have at a similar price tag. You got guys like, Jimmy Butler for a little bit cheaper. Even like SGA's, somewhat affordable. I don't know if this is a slate where I'm going to be getting to, Zach LaVine in my one lineup. If I was playing multiple lineups, he would definitely be someone I would have in my player pool. Just tougher to get there at 9,500. His price tag just keeps on creeping up. I know he's been playing really well lately. He scored at least 40. He scored at least he's been so good. He scored at least 45 DK points in 9 straight games. He's been really consistent lately. Obviously, you're looking for more than 45 at 9,500. You probably want, over 50, if not close to 60 at this price tag. But, LaVine does have that kind of upside. He's getting a ton of minutes right now. He's obviously going to dominate the usage. Houston, they've been better defensively this year, but they do still play pretty fast. This should be a pretty fast-paced game. Zach LaVine is pretty appealing on this slate. It's just I don't know if I can get there in my one lineup. I think if I'm playing multiple lineups, though, I would definitely have exposure to Zach LaVine. Now, looking at other guys on the Bulls, Kobe White, he's been pretty bad lately. We haven't really seen a good game from Kobe White in a while. He did have a decent game against the Pacers. That game did go to overtime, 38 DK points, 44 minutes. White's been so up and down lately, but I still do have some interest in him. I think in a fast-paced game like this, White does have the upside here, especially if he's going to be playing, his normal 35 to 36 minutes. The price tag's still pretty reasonable, $6,200 on DK. He is pretty affordable on Yahoo, coming in at $21 at point guard, so yeah, definitely like Kobe White. Him and Zach LaVine, I think, do stand out. Other guys from the Bulls, though, like Wendell Carter at his price point, I think, is somewhat appealing. He got up to 33 minutes last game. He hasn't really been productive lately, but the minutes are there now. He's going to get over 30 minutes as long as this game stays close. There's a chance that maybe the Rockets will be without DeMarcus Cousins tonight, so they'll probably be playing a lot of small ball, which should, impact or should be beneficial for Carter. Should be able to dominate on the glass. He's definitely someone you could look to. But really, I think that does it for me from the Bulls. Garrett Temple's been playing well lately. He had 26 DK points last game. He's been getting over 30 minutes, but on a 6-game slate, I just feel like there's going to be better plays than Garrett Temple. Even if Garrett Temple gives you 28, 30 DK points, sure, he's a solid play at his price, but he's not going to be someone that you really have to have. Temple he doesn't really have that kind of upside. A big game from Garrett Temple is 30 points, and I don't even know if he can put that up. So really on the Bulls today, it's Zach LaVine, it's Kobe White, and I think, Wendell Carter as a lower-owned tournament option makes some sense. We can go ahead and move on to the other side with Houston. So in Houston, there are some injuries to watch here. Victor Oladipo has already been ruled doubtful for this game, so Oladipo not expected to play. He is doubtful. DeMarcus Cousins, he's listed as questionable. This is kind of weird because they came out and said, or we got news a couple days ago that the Rockets are planning on parting ways with DeMarcus Cousins. He's no longer going to be on the team, but he's still on the team right now. I guess in the next few days they're gonna, he'll be off the team in the next few days, but he still is with the team now. He still does have the chance to play today. He's listed as questionable with an injury. If he's able to play, it is a really good matchup against the Bulls. We did get 37 minutes from Cousins last game. That was a matchup against Embiid where they kind of needed his size out there. I don't know if they're going to need 30-plus minutes from Cousins today, which makes him risky. He still does have the upside, though, when he gets the minutes. But really, on the Rockets, for me, I think it starts with John Wall. I think John Wall looks like a very appealing option once again. Last 2 games without Victor Oladipo, or last 3 games without Oladipo, we've seen solid outings from John Wall. Against the Knicks, wasn't great, but did lose some minutes due to blowout in that game. But against the Wizards, 52 DK points in 35 minutes. Against the Sixers, 45 DK points in 36 minutes. He played god-awful in the first half in that Sixers game, but really turned it on in the second half. He had like 35 or 40 points in the second half. I mean, the upside, it's there for John Wall, and I think at 8K, even with this price tag coming up, I still do like him today, especially since we know Oladipo is unlikely to play. Eric Gordon's going to be available for this game. He was out, I believe, 2 games ago when they played the Wizards. He was back in their last game. With Oladipo and with Wall both active, I do expect those 2 guys to dominate the usage while Oladipo's off the floor. Or I expect Eric Gordon and Wall to dominate the usage. So Wall, Eric Gordon, I both do have interest in today. Eric Gordon is pretty cheap on Yahoo. If you do play over there, he's only $20. I think that looks like a very appealing price tag for Eric Gordon. But yeah, those are the guys I really want to go to from Houston. Jae'Sean Tate, his price is getting to a point where I don't have that much interest in him. Same with David Howe, same with Nwaba. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with the starting lineup if DeMarcus Cousins is not able to play. I would assume they're going to start PJ Tucker at center, and then you'll probably see somebody like House or Nwaba move into the starting lineup. So if they were to start, maybe they'd be more appealing. But really on Houston for me, it's Wall and Gordon I like the most, and then I think Cousins, if he's able to play, is a tournament option you can consider. But we can go ahead and move on to the next one. Memphis and Dallas. So on Memphis, we do know that Dillon Brooks is going to remain out for this game. He's been out for like their last 2. He's going to be out again today. Starting off at the top with John Morant and Joe Val. So Morant, he absolutely burned me on Saturday. I played him on both sides in that game against the Suns. He had a terrible game, 26 DK points in only 27 minutes. It was a huge blowout. Today I'm not expecting a blowout. I'm expecting the game to stay close. I normally always, expect all the games to stay close, and unless it's like a clear blowout situation, which I don't think this one is, only a 4.5 point spread. Morant, it seems like I can never get this dude right. It seems like when I play him, he always sucks, and then when I don't play him, that's when he puts up like 45 to 50. I don't really know what I'm going to do with Morant today. I don't think I'm going to go to him in my one lineup, just because there's other guys I'd probably rather get to in his price range, like John Wall, even Chris Paul I do like in his price range. I think Morant is for sure going to be in my player pool, going to be someone I do consider. If I'm only playing one lineup, though, I don't know if he's going to make it into my one lineup. Kind of the same for J-Val. J-Val obviously has a ton of upside. We've seen some disappointing games from Valanciunas, but we know that 45, 50-point upside's always there. He's never going to play a ton of minutes. He's only going to play probably 28 to 30 minutes, which obviously he's never going to be someone you consider in cash, like unless he's really, really cheap, which is not the case today. I mean, he's kind of appropriately priced. But for tournaments, he always has that upside, can always pop off for those big games. But like Kyle Anderson, I think, is kind of overpriced at 6,600. Same with Brandon Clark. I don't really like it, his price tag. Grayson Allen, I don't love his price on DK, but I think he is definitely viable on this slate, 5,200. I think without Dillon Brooks, that does help Grayson Allen in terms of minutes. I think he's pretty locked in for 30-plus minutes here. Probably could get a few more as well without Dillon Brooks. He's been playing pretty well lately. He's been averaging close to a point per minute, a little bit less than that. But if we're going to get over 30 minutes from Grayson Allen, I think he is definitely viable at 5,200. I don't think he's going to be that popular either with his price tag coming up. So I do have some interest in Grayson Allen today on DK, but I think he really looks the best on Yahoo. That's where I really like Grayson Allen. He's actually minimum salary on Yahoo. So with no Dillon Brooks, with Grayson Allen likely to start and play 30-plus minutes, I think at minimum salary on Yahoo, he looks like a really good value. And I don't mind him on DK either. I don't think he's like a top play, but he's someone we can plug in for now. Maybe if better value opens up as the day goes on, we can update everything. But I think Allen does look like a solid option for now. But that's probably it for Memphis for me. Like all these cheap guys we considered last slate, I'm not going to them. Anderson, Allen were both out last game, but they're back, so I don't really have interest in guys like Tillman or Bain. So yeah, we can go ahead and move on to the Dallas side. So on the Mavericks, with this team, when they're fully healthy, I don't really have too much interest in any of the guys outside of Porzingis and Luka. And I think that's the case today. I think Luka, Porzingis are the 2 guys I want to look to here from Dallas and not really anyone else. Now, Luka, he is pretty expensive. He's $11,400. He's been playing insanely well lately. He's got at least 64 DraftKings points in his last 3 games. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to Luka, though, on this slate. He is pretty expensive. There's guys for cheaper that I like. LeBron's $1,000 cheaper. I think I'd rather play LeBron in a really good matchup. You still have Damian Lillard, who's also cheaper than Luka. Luka, would I be surprised if he goes out there and puts up 65, 70 again? No, but I just don't know if I can get there in my one lineup at this price point, especially because there really isn't a ton of value right now. There's no great standout plays under 4K, so value's kind of hard to come by. It may be tough to pay it for Luka today unless some better value opens up. Porzingis, kind of the same thing at 8,500. I think at his price tag, he just kind of, he's appropriately priced. He doesn't really stand out as a top play. If I'm going to get to anyone, though, on the Mavs, it's going to be these two guys. I don't think either one are going to be top plays for me, but Luka, Porzingis, obviously viable. I don't really have too much interest in anyone else, though, on the Mavs today. Tim Hardaway Jr. is really cheap, but I just rarely play Tim Hardaway Jr. when this team's fully healthy, especially when Luka and Porzingis are both healthy. You never know what you're going to get from THJ. I think that does it for Dallas today. So we can go ahead and move on to the next game, Miami and OKC. So on Miami today, we do have a pretty big injury to watch here. Tyler Hero listed as questionable. I believe he got injured in their last game and was not able to return. We do know that Goran Dragic is most likely going to be out once again. They said he's going to be out for for the rest of their road trip, so he'll be out to at least their next game, I think. He's most likely not going to play today. If we do get a scenario where Tyler Hero and Goran Dragic are both out, obviously Hero's the one to watch here. I think Kendrick Nunn becomes a great option. 5,700 on DK. I do like him quite a bit. And on Yahoo, he's pretty affordable over there as well, coming in at $19. So last game, we got a ton of minutes from Kendrick Nunn against the Lakers. He played 40 minutes, had 45 DraftKings points. Look, we don't know the status of Tyler Hero yet, but if Hero remains out, if Hero's not able to play, it's possible that we get around 40 minutes from Kendrick Nunn just because he's the only healthy point guard they have left. No Hero, no Dragic would just result in massive minutes for Kendrick Nunn. And this is someone that, can spark upside at times. He's not going to be as productive as normal. He's not going to be an insanely productive player when he's playing alongside Jimmy Butler, when he's playing alongside Bam Adebayo, but he'll get some time with those guys off the floor. He's going to play massive minutes. We know that. So I do like Kendrick Nunn here, and if Hero winds up out, I'm going to like Kendrick Nunn even more. I think he does look like a very solid option, assuming that Dragic is also out, which seems like is going to be the case. Now, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, again, I think both these guys are just kind of appropriately priced. Jimmy Butler, I could see going to on the slate at 9,200 just because he has shown massive upside lately. We've seen Jimmy just put up big games, triple-double upside basically every night. He's got at least 50 DraftKings points in 3 of his last 4 games. He's going to play a ton of minutes as long as it's a close game. OKC, obviously, not really a matchup we should be too scared of. Again, I don't think Jimmy stands out as a top play today, but obviously someone you could look to in tournaments. Does have that upside. Kind of the same with Bam Adebayo, 8,800. Would I be surprised if we got a big game from Bam tonight? No, but I don't know if it's a very high probability of him putting up a massive game here for that price tag. He could definitely put up 45 to 50, but at almost 9K, I'm looking for almost 55, close to 60 from Bam, especially in tournaments. So that really does it for Miami. This isn't that appealing of a team today. If Tyler Hero does get ruled out, though, I'm going to really, really like Kendrick Nunn. Not too much interest in anyone else, though, on the Heat today. I think everyone's just kind of appropriately priced. Now, moving on to the OKC side. So this is a back-to-back for OKC, which is something to note because Al Horford, he has yet to play on a back-to-back this season. I am pretty positive that Horford is going to rest here. He hasn't played, like I said, he hasn't played on any back-to-backs this year. Assuming that Al Horford does wind up resting, that is going to make Isaiah Roby probably one of the better value plays of the slate. Only 4,900 on DK. I wouldn't say only 4,900, but 4,900 is still a reasonable price tag for Roby if we get word that Horford is out. And on Yahoo, he is power forward over there. He is pretty cheap over on Yahoo as well. $13 at the power forward position. Definitely like Isaiah Roby here, assuming that Al Horford does wind up resting. Last time Horford rested was on, I think it was this game. It was this game against Portland. We got 24 minutes from Roby, had 29 DK points. He did foul out. He would have played a lot more had he not fouled out in that game. Or maybe it was a different game. It was this game against Memphis, excuse me. So this game against Memphis, that was the game that Horford rested. We got 23 minutes from 23 minutes from Roby, so basically 29.5 DK points, same amount. But he did foul out in that game. He was on pace to play around 30 minutes had he not fouled out. So as long as Horford does wind up resting and is out tonight, I think Isaiah Roby starts and likely plays around 30 to 32 minutes as long as he can stay out of foul trouble. That's a little bit of a worry against Bam Adebayo, but at 4,900, Roby does look like one of the better value plays, assuming that Horford does indeed wind up resting. Now, if Horford does play, which I think is unlikely, but if he does, obviously I'm going to be off Isaiah Roby. That'll be news we have to keep an eye on, though, as the day goes on Monday. But all these other OKC guys, I really don't have any interest in outside of SGA. I think SGA, In tournaments, he's going to be lower owned on this slate. Obviously, he is someone that always has upside. Again, does he stand out as a top play today? Not really, but in tournaments, you could get there. Really, though, if Horford's out, I think the top play from OKC is definitely Isaiah Roby, and not too much else that I'll really be looking to on the Thunder. Everyone's just kind of appropriately priced, if not, overpriced. So we can go ahead and move on to the next game, Portland and Phoenix. So looking at Portland today, Portland, we got CJ McCollum, Yusuf Nurkic, they're going to remain out. Obviously, with those two guys out, Damian Lillard, Enes Kanter have been the biggest beneficiaries. Lillard, 10,900. At this price point, Lillard, I think, is still viable. He obviously can pop off and put up, a 60-point game basically any night. Is this the best matchup? No. I mean, Phoenix has been playing really slow this year. They play pretty good defense. But we're just getting massive usage for Lillard. We're getting massive minutes. He's taken 28 and 30 shots over the last two games. Like, he's just gonna go out there and chuck. He's gonna get a ton of assists as well. He's gonna be the primary ball handler. Gonna have the ball in his hands a ton. He's probably gonna give you like 30 and 10. Obviously has the upside to give you more than that. I think on this slate, I probably would rather go to Lillard over Luka. That might be a little bit of a hot take, but Dame is just playing so well right now. He is a little bit cheaper than Luka. I think we're going to need those savings because we don't have a ton of standout value. So do like Dame as a pay-up option. I think he's going to be lower owned on the slate, but obviously is someone you can get to because of the massive upside he has on a nightly basis. Enes Kanter at 7K, I do have some interest in as well. Basically, at this point, we know what we're getting from Kanter on a nightly basis. He's going to play around 32 to 34 minutes. They're going to need him out there against DeAndre Ayton, so I think it's likely the minutes will be there for Kanter here. He's probably going to give you a double-double. You're going to need about 40-plus Draftkings points from him at this price tag for him to be a solid play. But obviously, he can get there when he's playing 32 to 34 minutes. There is someone I'd rather go to at a similar price tag on the other side of this game that we'll talk about. But, Kanter, DeAndre Ayton, who we're going to talk about, J-Val, I think all those guys are solid plays, in that mid-range at center. Probably would rank them Ayton, Kanter, J-Val in terms of interest, but, obviously Kanter is in play on this slate. But like Covington, he's been playing so well lately, but I don't know if I can pay $6,500 for Robert Covington. Like, this price tag is just too high for me, especially given that he's not really like a very productive player. He's going to have to get you like a double-double, going to have to get you like a bunch of stocks, which is what he's been doing lately, but that's not something we can really rely on a nightly basis. Like, I don't know if I can expect Covington to get 6 stocks, which is what he's gotten in 3 straight games. 6 blocks, 4 blocks, 2 steals, 4 blocks, 2 steals. Like, that's just something we can't predict. We can't predict him to get 6 stocks here. So just can't go to Covington at his price point, too expensive. Derrick Jones Jr., again, another guy that's been playing well lately, but do I really want to pay $5K for Derrick Jones Jr.? I mean, this is such a low point per minute player, such a low usage player. He's probably going to get 30 to 32 minutes, which does make him appealing, but he could legit give you 15 fantasy points in 32 minutes. Like I said, just not a productive player. Don't really know if he's a guy I want to go to at 5K. I think that really does it for Portland. Really, it's just Lillard and Kanter I have interest in, and not too much interest in anyone else. Now moving on to Phoenix. So with Phoenix, for me, I think the guys I'm really looking to, it's only really 2 guys here. It's Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton. Chris Paul, I think I do prefer over Devin Booker. At this point, Chris Paul, he's just a guy that I would rather get to over Booker. He's not as scoring dependent as Booker. He can contribute with the peripherals, which is something that Booker hasn't really been doing lately and just hasn't been doing this season. We know Chris Paul can go out there and get, a ton of assists. He had 19 assists against the Pelicans the other day. Obviously, he disappointed last game, but that was due to blowout. I mean, he only played 22 minutes. Because of the blowout, it's 7,800 in a good matchup against Portland. I think Chris Paul, he does look like a very solid option in that mid-range at point guard. Picking between him, John Morant, John Wall, I think is going to be kind of tough today. I think right now John Wall is my favorite, but Chris Paul would probably be right behind him. I think Chris Paul, once again, looks like a solid option in that mid-range at point guard. And DeAndre Ayton, look, he burned me on Saturday. I played him against Memphis. He was terrible, but I'm fine going right back to DeAndre Ayton. 6,900 on DK is still very affordable. On Yahoo, he is still very cheap over there, only $23, coming in like $5 less than Enes Kanter. I think I'd rather take the savings and play DeAndre Ayton here in a really good matchup. Portland, not a good defensive team at all. Kanter, never been a good defender, like not a guy that's going to go out there and just shut Ayton down. Like, this is definitely one of those matchups where we could get another big double-double from DeAndre Ayton. He burned me last slate, but I'm going right back to him. Like, in DFS, man, you got to have a short memory. You can't let, like, even if guys burn you and they do you wrong, they let you down. If they're in a good matchup, if they're at a good price point and they project well, I think you just got to play them again. I mean, don't let don't let recency bias bite you in the ass. I think Ayton's a great play once again. He's too cheap, especially in this matchup against a fast-paced Portland team that's not a good defensive team at all. Really like Ayton once again. Definitely someone I'll be looking to at the center position. But outside of Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton, I don't have too much interest in anyone else on these Suns today. So we can go ahead and move on to the next game, Charlotte and Utah. So on Charlotte, obviously this is not a great matchup, and this is probably the least appealing game on the slate. Like, I don't really have too much interest in anyone on this game, really on both sides. LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier. If I was going to get to anyone, it'd probably be these two guys. They've been playing so well without Devontae Graham, especially Terry Rozier. Terry Rozier at 8,100, he is not someone that's going to really project well for that salary, but he's been playing insanely well. He's been getting a ton of minutes. He's been scoring like a madman. I think Rozier is someone we can look to in tournaments. Again, in cash games as an optimal play, I don't think he really projects as an optimal play. But in tournaments, he has that upside, can go for 50 DK points. We've seen the upside from Terry Rozier. The usage right now is through the roof, and him and LaMelo are dominating the usage. So, LaMelo, again, just a lower-owned tournament option. It's not a great matchup. His price tag, he is pretty expensive, but he does have the upside. Gordon Hayward does feel a little bit too cheap. He's been pretty bad lately, but it is a revenge game against his old former team. He did have a pretty good game against Utah earlier this year. I don't mind Hayward, but I'd probably rather get to Rozier for $1,000 more if I can. PJ Washington is pretty cheap, so he's a fine option at $5,400. Probably going to get 32 to 34 minutes from him. He was solid last game. He was okay. At $5,400, he does have the upside at this price point. So PJ Washington, you could look to. Really, I don't think anyone from Charlotte stands out as like a core play, as a top play. Like, I don't think I'm going to be getting to anyone on Charlotte in my one lineup. But these are guys you could look to mix in if you're playing a lot of lineups. LaMelo, Rozier, Hayward, PJ Washington. Probably wouldn't go to anyone else, though. Like, Cody Zeller's cheap, but he's been so bad lately. The minutes have been down. He's tough to trust. Probably just going to be the top four guys I would look to on Charlotte and nothing else. So moving on to the Utah side. Now, Utah, they're basically fully healthy now. They have Mike Conley back, so this is a tough team to gauge with Conley back when they're fully healthy. When this team is fully healthy, I really don't go out of my way to play anyone on this team, especially not now with everyone being, everyone was kind of priced up while Conley was out. So, like, Clarkson's 6,100, Mitchell's almost 9K, Ingles is 5,400. Like, I don't really like anyone on the Jazz today. Conley is cheap, but his minutes, I assume, are going to be limited. He was limited in his first game back. I assume he's probably going to be limited again. So I don't really want to go to him if he is on a minutes restriction again. It's a good matchup for Rudy Gobert, so I could see maybe going to him at 7,400. But again, like, we have Ayton, we have Kanter, we have J-Val. I think I'd prefer all those guys over Gobert today. Yeah, really just, this game's not that appealing. No one stands out as a top play from this game. I think, some of those Charlotte guys we mentioned you can mix in tournaments. You could mix in a guy like Rudy Gobert in tournaments, but that really does it for this one. So we can go ahead and move on to the last game of the night, the Wizards and the Lakers. So on the Wizards today, really when it comes to this team, when they're fully healthy, the only two guys I ever really play are Westbrook and Beal. I haven't really been going to any of these secondary guys like Rui or Bertans or Neto. Like, I just don't play these guys when Westbrook and Beal are healthy. Westbrook and Beal, though, I think they're probably just lower-owned contrarian options on this slate. I don't think either one are like core plays for me. Westbrook, though, we know the upside he has. Even at 10,100, he can go out there and put up 55, 60 DK points any night. Can be a good play at his price tag. He did have a triple-double last game against Portland. This matchup isn't great against the Lakers. The Lakers, they're a good defensive team, but I still have interest in Westbrook. I think I'd probably prefer him over Beal today if I did have to pick between the two. Usually I'm always going to prefer Westbrook just because he can contribute with the peripherals. He gives you that triple-double upside, whereas Beal, a little bit more scoring dependent, whereas Westbrook, can go out there and put up 25, 15, and 12. Beal, he's probably going to have to score like 35 to 40 real-life points to be a good play at his price tag. I think both guys are fine. If I have to pick one, though, I prefer Westbrook. When it comes to the center rotation on this team, I think that's the one thing that could be appealing outside of Beal and Westbrook is the centers. I have no idea what they're going to do with their center minutes today. Wagner's been starting recently, but he hasn't really been playing much at all. Only played 11 minutes last game. We did see Robin Lopez get a ton of minutes off the bench, 28 minutes off the bench. I don't know if they're going to start Wagner again. I don't know if they're going to go to Lopez today. Like, Lopez has been playing well. Maybe they move him back into the starting lineup. I think if Robin Lopez does wind up starting at 3,800, he's probably going to get around 28 to 30 minutes. He is definitely someone we can look to as a cheap center option, as a value play. Like I said, there really isn't a ton of value that stands out right now. So I'd be fine going to Lopez as a cheap option if you need to save some salary. I'm going to prefer him to start. I'd rather him be in the starting lineup, but even if he comes off the bench, it seems pretty clear they want to give him the minutes over Wagner at this point. So Wagner, even if he starts, probably won't play a ton. It's going to be a lot of Robin Lopez. So yeah, I don't mind him, but obviously Westbrook and Beal are the two guys that really stand out from the Wizards today. Now moving on to the Lakers, hitting on this team real quick before we end the video. So on the Lakers today, I do really like LeBron James. I think he is probably my favorite pay-up option on this slate right now. 10,400 on DK. On Yahoo, he's a lot cheaper than some of those other studs we've talked about. Like, let's see. Luka's 54, Lillard's 50, LeBron's only 48, so he is coming in a little bit cheaper than Luka and Lillard. Do prefer LeBron, especially because he's small forward on Yahoo, and small forward is always a tough position to fill. There's never really any standout plays at small forward, so if I can pay up here, I definitely want to try and fit in LeBron. It's such a good matchup. We know this Wizards team. They play really fast. They're one of the worst defensive teams in the league. I know we haven't really seen any big games from LeBron lately. Since AD went down, he really hasn't done, we really haven't seen any big games from him. 58, 51, 45 DK points. Those have been his last 3 games without Anthony Davis. He's still playing a ton of minutes, and he's still going to play probably 36 to 38 minutes tonight if this game is close. We haven't seen, like I said, we haven't seen that big game, but the upside is still there. He does get a bump without Anthony Davis. He's going to have the ball in his hands more, and especially with Dennis Schroeder still out, LeBron's going to be the primary point guard. He's going to start at point guard and just going to get all the usage, going to dominate the usage, going to, just be the primary playmaker. Legit gives you triple-double upside. It's a fantastic matchup. If the Lakers, put up whatever, I don't know how many points they're implied for today, but if they put up, 110, 120 points, a lot of that's going to come from LeBron. He's just going to do all the heavy lifting at 10,400 in a great matchup. LeBron is my favorite pay-up option on this slate. Now, Kyle Kuzma, obviously without Anthony Davis, he does benefit. Still don't think I can pay 6,700 for Kyle Kuzma, but he is still cheap on Yahoo, so I could see going to him over there. $18 for Kuzma, totally fine playing him over on Yahoo. With Dennis Schroeder out, that's going to open up more minutes for guys like Alex Caruso, Wes Matthews, but I don't really want to go to any of these guys. Like, I don't really like any of these secondary guys from the Lakers. Montrezl Harrell gives you some good point per minute upside, but his minutes haven't been that high lately. He did play 24 last game, which is at least good to see. If you tell me we're going to get like 25, 26 minutes from Montrezl Harrell, I would have a lot of interest in him. I just don't know if the minutes are going to be there. Like, they've been so inconsistent this year with the minutes. Some games he'll play 24, 25. Some games he'll only play 16 minutes. Like, we don't really know. This feels like a matchup where they would probably run Harrell out there more than Gasol. Like, Washington really isn't a big team. They're probably going to play Rui at the 5. Robin Lopez is not that big of a guy. Like, Harrell can match up with Lopez. So I do like Montrezl Harrell. I think he's a little bit risky just because the minutes, you don't know what they're going to look like. But the upside is there if he does get the minutes, especially in a really good matchup like this. So my 2 favorite guys from the Lakers today are definitely LeBron and Montrezl Harrell. And I think Kuzma, he looks really good on Yahoo. I'm not going to go there on DK, though. But like Gasol, Caruso, KCP, I'm not going to any of these guys outside of, the ones we mentioned. So there's some guys to like from the Lakers. It's a really good matchup, but a lot of these secondary pieces are going to be, avoids for me. Just LeBron, Harrell, and Kuzma on Yahoo. That's what I'm liking from the Lakers today. But yeah, that does it for all 6 games tonight, guys. I think we broke everything down team by team, talked about everything for this slate. Hope you guys did enjoy this video. Again, I do appreciate you watching. If you enjoyed, hit that like button down below. Hit that subscribe button as well before you do get out of here. Be sure to click that notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload, and you also get notified every time I do go live. Like I said earlier, guys, with a later lock today, I'll probably be live around 5 o'clock Eastern time. So if you're able to, be sure to tune into the live stream. I can answer all your guys' questions for this slate. We can talk through everything. We can hit on any news that comes out throughout the day in the live stream. So yeah, tune into the live, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, check out my Patreon content, link down below in the description as well. And yeah, good luck tonight, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.